and certainly I'll do that, but in a very subtle way. You can see from the title of the presentation, it's about a digital first organization, and I think you will very quickly get to understand what our view is of digital technology and the digital age. So thank you. Next slide, please, Alex. So I think, first of all, it's important to actually, let's say, quantify or describe what we mean by digital first organization. This is not new. It's something that we've adopted some time back, but it's one that not only adopts innovation and digital technology, but it also creates cultures, structures, and processes. And those are very soft issues. When I've listened to some of the previous speakers, digital technology is right at the sharp end, but cultures, structures, and processes are important, and that support digital transformation and looks to technology or digital solutions to realize an opportunity or solve problems. So that's what we mean by a digital first organization, and hopefully you'll get a good feeling of that today. We will link culture, structures, and processes and what we've adopted as an organization. Next slide, please, Alex. So what I propose to discuss is what I believe will be interesting to you, a class-leading business strategy, and you will see where we're going in terms of the metals that we believe we should be mining. I'll then talk in more detail about a digital first organization, specifically looking at energy management, locomotive, operational and behavioral data, tailings management, a simple thing such as working arrangements, and then obviously a very brief conclusion. Thanks, Alex. All right, so let's talk about a class-leading business strategy. And really, even a level above strategy, you've got to talk about sustainability. And here in a simple format is our sustainability strategy as a business. And it really encompasses four, let's call it pillars: developing a climate change resilient business, and I'll come back to that; entrenching long-term economic sustainability; embedding human rights and ethics; and being a data-driven and being able to make considered and well thought through decisions. So let's just stop on that bottom pillar, and you will see words like granularity in data, and obviously you can start seeing the technology links. Just coming back to the first block, developing a climate change resilient business. I'm going to show you how we do that. But in this presentation, we do talk about carbon neutrality and the road towards that. You will see tailings management in this block. We're going to cover that. And then in the third block, embedding human rights and ethics, we will also talk about health and safety, and a lot of what the previous speaker spoke about really also impacts very significantly on health and safety. So that's our sustainability strategy. Next slide, please, Alex. So this is a little bit of a journey. Our business started as a focused gold mining company back in 2013. After very careful consideration, we entered the platinum group metals business, and then we internationalized our business in 2017. And more recently, we've developed, or we are pivoting, is another term that's used in business, into what we call green energy metals. And it doesn't mean that we have lost faith in gold. Quite to the contrary, gold will always be an underpin to our business. It doesn't mean we've lost faith in the platinum group metals. In fact, the platinum group metals will be a very strong underpin to what we call the hydrogen economy. So platinum, rhodium, palladium, iridium, ruthenium, and of course our existing tailings retreatment business will be very important underpins to our green metals business that we're building. When you look at the green metals, though, there's additional components, and I want to just discuss them because they will probably resonate with you. The battery metals, the mobility battery metals listed here: lithium, nickel, cobalt, manganese, graphite. We know is not a metal, but it's an important part of a battery. Those are our current focus areas, and we've recently made 3 acquisitions that give us exposure to those metals: Keliber in Finland, Sandoval in France, and more recently the Rhyolite Ridge project in Nevada in the US. Underpinning that is, as I said, our exposure to PGMs and the hydrogen economy. Underpinning that is our existing exposure to uranium, and nuclear energy is going to become a more important part of the energy mix because of its it doesn't generate carbon, and of course it's reliable baseload power. Copper is a common denominator across all these metals, and then of course our recycling business is absolutely necessary in terms of the circular economy. If you are environmentally conscious, you really have to consider you cannot keep on producing metals from a primary source. You have to recycle them, and we intend to grow our recycling business. And tailings retreatment is not too different in that whatever you produce from tailings is generally considered green. So that's the way we think about our business. Those are the additional metals that we intend to get exposure to, and I certainly see them as modern new age metals, very much in line with the whole digital concept and the 4th and 5th industrial revolutions. Next slide, please, Alex. Of course, you know, that's a very high level, let's call it vision. You need to distill a vision down into something that is more simple. And of course, you need to have strategic focus. And this slide actually does that. Our vision is to create superior value for all our stakeholders, not just our shareholders. And that's through delivering and focusing on our key strategic focus areas, and they listed in that pie chart below. Building a values-based culture is absolutely necessary to be a successful business, focusing on safe production and operational excellence, optimizing capital allocation, prospering in South Africa's very difficult investment climate, and then, as you heard, building an operating portfolio of green metals and related technologies. Of course, core to all of this is embedding ESG excellence as the way we do business. And if we do this, we will certainly achieve our goal of strengthening our position as an international mining group. So let's now just go to the next slide and just look at how this overlaps with this seminar. And the areas that I'm going to cover in more detail to show you how we are applying technology in a very practical way are the following. Under safe production, we're going to show how by using technology we can leverage our operational data and leading indicators to target specific interventions for maximum benefit. Believe it or not, data is incredibly important to rectify unsafe behavior, and and to use it in the right way to coach operators for safer and more efficient production. We're going to cover that in some detail. In terms of operational excellence, interrogation of key production and cost metrics allows for enhanced management control. And you're going to hear me today say that if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. And right on that very first sustainability slide, I already highlighted the importance of granular data, which is necessary to run a business. Of course, automation opportunities, improve asset utilization, and of course, return on investment. You have to run a business as a business. It has to be profitable. It is not a charitable institution. In fact, it will not be sustainable as a charitable institution. So we have to always be focused on value creation and creating profit. Embedding ESG is probably our most important strategic focus area. And you will see today, again, the use of digital technology has resulted in improved energy management, supporting our decarbonization objectives. I hope that'll come across clearly. And then, of course, digital systems enable significantly improved technical and environmental governance on critical infrastructure. And I'm actually going to show you how we manage our tailings facilities using digital technology. Thank you, Alex. So let's look at some of these, and under each heading, I'm going to actually give you the scope of the challenge, because these are very significant challenges in terms of size, whether it's energy, whether it's the number of tailings facilities we have to manage, and so on. So thanks, Alex. Let's go to the first slide. So in terms of energy, let's just get a feeling of what are we talking about here. So we've put together some statistics on our 2020 energy consumption and carbon emissions. So let's focus on the top left-hand pie. That gives you a split between our South African business and our US business. It also splits the South African gold and PGM business, and that is terawatt hours. When you sum all that, we consume 6.8 terawatt hours of energy in our business, over 700 megawatts of energy demand. When you translate that into money terms, we spent over 7 billion rand on energy. Those are big numbers. If you still don't have a feel of it, it represents 3% of Eskom sales, and as far as I know, we are one of Eskom's top 5 energy consumers. When you look at that split in energy, you can see again the bulk of it, when you measure it in terawatt hours, is electricity, a little bit of diesel and other sources. When you translate that into greenhouse gas emissions, you can see that scope 2 emissions amount to the majority. So 69% of our total CO2 equivalent emissions are scope 2 emissions. And when you split that into the South African operations, 90 and 97% of scope 1 and 2 emissions respectively are attributed to them. So this is we are a very significant energy consumer and greenhouse gas generator, and therefore it's incumbent on us to actually reduce our greenhouse gas emissions, reduce our energy consumption. And I'm going to show you how we've started to use digital technology to do that. Thank you. Next slide, Alex. So let's start with the strategic alignment and purpose. Now, clearly, we are talking greenhouse gas emissions. we are talking really environmental, social, and governance excellence in terms of our strategic focus area. So it fits in there. The purpose is improving energy efficiency. Of course, if you can reduce your energy consumption by being more efficient, you're going to reduce greenhouse gas emissions if you do nothing else. But improving energy efficiency is the purpose, and the environmental impact of our operation is obviously a result of that, and it enhances operational sustainability. So what are the objectives? As I've said, reduce absolute greenhouse gas emissions, enhance sustainability, and support our organizational commitment to carbon neutrality by 2040. Those are the objectives. What have we done? We've implemented what we call a digital twin. We are developing digital twins for our energy-intensive systems. The twin provides for integrated and dynamic simulation capability, which enables us to optimize the modeling of our consumption. And we can do this without obviously disrupting our business while we are doing these simulations. The net result is a predictive model, and of course we choose the most effective model to implement, and as I've just said, without risk. So what did we achieve? We actually reduced our energy consumption by 159 gigawatt hours. That's a huge amount of savings from an electricity point of view, or an energy point of view. We abated just over 165,000 tons of CO2 emissions, and we saved the company 215 million rand by doing that. That is the benefit of using digital technology in an appropriate way. So these are real practical examples of how we're using digital technology to improve our business. So what are our future ambitions? Well, clearly we want to expand this current capability and broaden our coverage over our South African footprint. Of course, it'll make sense at a point in time to take it into our international business, but as you saw, our South African business is really the biggest cause in our business of greenhouse gas emissions. Investing more in monitoring systems, absolutely necessary to continuously improve, and then of course incorporating artificial intelligence to improve our management capabilities of such a system. So here's a very practical example with real world outputs of real benefits. Thank you, Alex. Next slide. As I said, tailings represents another area where we have significant exposure, but we've also been able to use digital technologies to help us manage this. We have, as you can see, 38 tailings facilities in our South African gold and US and South African PGM segments. 29% of our tailings facilities are dormant, but clearly they require maintenance and management. Just to put tailings, the challenge of tailings management in perspective, from 1959 to 2020, South African management standards have been developed. So there's continuous development. There's been a long period of developing methods to design and manage tailings facilities. Interestingly, our oldest tailings facility was established in 1900. So you now start getting a feeling of the spread and the age of some of our tailings facilities and the risks associated with these facilities. And the pie chart on the top right-hand side of this slide actually gives you an indication of those that are active, those that are dormant, and of course, the risk rating is represented in this slide with an H for high and an M for medium, and so on. In 1979, the Chamber of Mines issued a guideline, and that's the standard with which all our facilities have been designed. But important to note that globally, 230 significant failures have taken place, and some of them recently in South America have certainly required the industry to step up and do something that prevents these type of tragedies from taking place. So let's look on the next slide what we have done to use technology to deal with this situation. So again, it's an environmental issue. You could argue it's a safety issue as well, but the purpose is to enable superior environmental management, performance, and governance of our tailings facilities through the use of digital systems. The objectives was to ensure unacceptable risks and mitigations are fully understood, consolidated and elevated to the group level, upgrade our tailings facilities management to international best practices with the application of the ALAR principle, which is as low as reasonably possible principle, implement robust consolidated monitoring of these tailings facilities to make sure that we can proactively manage the risk. So what was the solution in this case? Well, we implemented multiple digital systems. We have proven a geographic information system as a management platform with consolidated environmental and performance data. This is further supported by a digital auditing platform. And we've included live erratic surface monitoring. In other words, we are acutely aware of the moisture within these tailings facilities. The solution benefit has been enormous. We now have visualization and management of key data. We have automated alerts if there's movements, if there's an increase in moisture levels. We have live internal reporting, and very important, public disclosure on tailings facilities is a very sensitive issue, because you've invariably got communities that have established themselves around these facilities. So the risks have to be managed and disclosed in a very open and transparent way. And we are moving to what we call radical transparency. Because we are so confident in what we're doing, we are happy to provide all disclosure. Our future ambitions is to expand this current platform to cover our global footprint of tailings facilities. We are a growing organization, so as we grow, we will incorporate this in our new acquisitions and assets. We want to roll out enhanced erratic surface monitoring on all our South African tailings facilities, and of course identify and trial new data generating technology. So we have a base that works, and you can see how we're going to grow and enhance our ability to manage what is effectively a very complex system of tailings. Thanks, Alex. I also wanted to cover another very practical example of it's really an interface between men and machines. And we have a significant fleet of rail-bound equipment. And let me first of all put that in perspective and then explain what the challenge is. So in our South African gold business, we have 740 locomotives. I dare say that is probably 10 times more than Transnet. In our South African PGM business, we have 413 locomotives. We move approximately 10 million tons of gold bearing ore in an underground environment. Within our South African PGM business, we move approximately 26 million tons. That's a total of 36 million tons of ore is moved annually underground. That's equivalent to a very large open pit copper mine, iron ore mine. It is very significant tonnages. To complicate the matter, there's about 28,000 people that interface with these machines on practically a daily basis. That's just in South African gold, and in the South African PGM business, it's just over 30,000. So when you look at the big picture here, we have just over 1,000 locomotives moving 36 million tons of ore and interfacing with over 58,500 of our employees in a confined area. That is a recipe for a very significant disaster if it's not well managed. So what have we done? We've employed about 330 million rand to implement digital locomotive safety systems. We've identified 3,600 behaviors per loco per day that we monitor and use to help guide training, improve behaviors, and so on. And you can see what we're monitoring is trains in proximities to tripping, overspeed trips, overspeed alarms, locomotive doors. In other words, things that are not acceptable when you are not looking. You do not know what is happening. So having this data and having it as granular as this is incredibly important to being able to address the bad behaviors that cause accidents. Just to put in perspective, we have 4,200 employees trained and licensed to operate these locomotives, and since having implemented this system, we've seen a 69% reduction in locomotive-related incidents through these behavioral interventions. So another very, very good example of using technology, in this case, in an operating excellence and safety conscious environment. Thanks, Alex. Let's look now at some of the detailed solutions. So again, always coming back to strategy and alignment, the purpose. What is the purpose of this exercise? Is leveraging existing digital systems to generate operational and behavioral insights, enabling focused interventions to improve safety and productivity. What were the objectives? Establish data acquisition and aggregation, create dual management systems to ensure that our employees are fit for operating these machines, enable data visualization so that we have management tools to improve behaviors, coach, and identify shortcomings. So the solution detail, we've established systems capable of aggregating locomotive and operational data across multiple sources. The solution, as I've said, ensures our employees are fit for operation before even starting a locomotive. Visualization of the platform enables the identification of operational and behavioral trends, and the analysis allows for targeted interventions, which is key because before we never had this data, and we always thought our training of loco drivers was good, but when you're not watching, then all sorts of things happen that you can't, unless you've got a recording system, actually monitor and use in a constructive way. So the solution benefit, we've enabled behavioral coaching. We take this information, we show it to the drivers, and if they continue to ignore the requirements for proper behavior underground, of course, we take appropriate action. We've seen significant safety improvements, and of course, this also allows us now to utilize all these locomotives far more effectively than we were. What are our future ambitions? We want to expand our current capability to cover our broader global footprint, especially as we go. We will be investing in additional systems and improving the volume of data. We've identified that's going to cost about 800 million in potential projects. And of course, we can use artificial intelligence to help us do this much better than it's being done even at the moment, although we've clearly moved a good couple of steps forward. Thanks, Alex. This is a soft issue, and I have mentioned it before, and this is really about working arrangements. I think the days of having an office are history. We've fully embedded our remote small office, home office concept. We call it the SOHO concept. So people work from their offices at home where appropriate. Clearly, if you need to be on the operations, well, you have an office there. But many of the corporate and service functions do not need to be done in an office environment as we used to know it. What are the functional benefits? And you can see from the map, our technical focus is now from a global team on the full portfolio of assets and projects. We've taken down barriers. We've removed the issues of time zones, and our teams are now multinational. Improved individual and team performance. We've seen productivity improve. You've seen it in our results. Yes, we've had good commodity prices, but I can assure you the organization is working better than it's ever worked before. Improved safety and reduced emissions associated with travel. You know, people driving on roads, generating CO2. There are risks of driving on a road. Myself, not having to travel every other week internationally is a real blessing. I can stay in a place for a much longer period and do my job. I can motivate and promote our company to investors. I don't have to go and be in a hall and meet them individually anymore. Social benefits. We've seen greater family-orientated work-life balance resulting in much more social cohesion. We've seen families participating in our events. It's wonderful to see. Improved employee engagement and wellness. We see that. We've just got to be disciplined and not overdo the work. People are so engaged that they are working more than 8.5 hours a day. Enhanced talent acquisition. We can now employ people anywhere in the world, and they can do their work from there, and it can be focused on to the US, South America, Finland, France, or even South Africa. You don't have to be in the area where you actually work. So those are, in my mind, softer issues, but I think it gives you a good idea, and you can see from the strap line at the bottom. To me, that is fully embracing digital technology and using virtual mechanisms to do this. I am right now sitting in my study at home, being able to engage with yourselves. I've not had to leave an hour or two earlier. It's not going to take me an hour or two to get home, and that is time not wasted. It is not generating CO2 by driving and so on. So there's a lot of benefits. Thank you, Alex. So let me then conclude and really just summarize what I've been saying. We are leveraging digital technology as a strategic enabler and a superior value creator. I hope that came across in a few relatively simple examples of how we are embracing digital technology. Digitalization has demonstrated value in terms of supporting our strategic focus areas, and we are making significant progress in understanding the full benefit, and there's more to come. The digital first position we adopted last year and that was adopted primarily to ensure that we could work virtually during a COVID lockdown. But of course, we have been promoters of digital technology with, through our sponsorship of DigiMine. So it's not that we have been anti-digital technology at all, but we've adopted a digital first position, and you've seen how that has enhanced our digital journey, and it remains a key part of our perspective on this concept. We are continuously investigating. Alex will do the keynote address tomorrow, and Alex heads up our technology and digital initiatives. So we've allocated capacity, good capacity, to improve what we are doing and implementing. And these solutions will deliver an improvement in safety, but will certainly improve the bottom line, and it'll create strategic benefits for our organization. And of course, we intend to continue investing in fit-for-purpose digital technology. I think you've seen just a small, the cherry on the cake, or the tip of the iceberg in this presentation. There is so much more to come. So I'd like to thank you for your time, and wish you all well with your ongoing seminar. Thank you, Professor Kaywood.
Thank you, Mr. Froneman. We at this point in time, we have a total of 58